Facebook and YouTube pages. And of course, to those in the room, members, staff, and manuhiri, tēnā koutou katoa. I'll open up our long-term plan federal submission today with a karakia all about the cold winds, bringing in some positive energy for the day. And when I woke up this morning at 4, it was pretty chilly, so I went back to sleep. Hakataka te au ki tonga kia mākina kina ki uta kia mātaratara ki tai e hia ki ana te atukura he tio, he huka, he hauhu, tihei mauri ora. Our first verbal submission today comes from our Kaikohe Hokianga Community Board, and it's great to have you in chambers today, Jess. We will be allowing 10 minutes for you to speak to your submission, and then there are 3 minutes for councillors to ask any questions they may have. You don't have to use all of that time. We've got your written submission from your board in front of us. It's the very first one to our councillors, and you can take that as read as well. So you can use the time to speak to it. If you wanted to read off it or notes there, then that's up to you. But otherwise, it's great to have you in our chambers. And can I just say that this is actually the first time I've read through the Kaikohe Hokianga strategic plan in this format, and it's really awesome as a former Kaikohe Hokianga community board member. I'm incredibly proud of the work that your board has done to see a strategic plan come through, and I'm hoping that maybe we can find something in there to give it a fix so it's not on the shelf to our next LCP, but we'll pass it over to you. And I don't want to seem like I'm predetermined or anything like that, but we'll pass the time over to Jessie.
Tēnā rā tātou katoa. Thank you, everybody. Just to make a note that I am presenting on behalf of the Kaikohe Hokianga Community Board. However, member Edmonds has noted that he is not in support of this submission. The other 5, including myself, members have put this together, and I have the full support of those members to present today. So, got all these notes in minutes. Okay, I will take it as read. You've read the submission that we've put in. Terms of issue 1 around the stormwater, I guess just to reinforce that Cyclone Gabriel and the other weather events last year really impacted our ward, definitely over in Hokianga as well as in Kaikohe. So we really support the future proofing of our townships under the stormwater improvement. And the other thing to note around that is that I know in Hokianga anyway, with our stormwater system, we get a lot of infiltration, and that's impacting on our wastewater systems and causing them to work at even lesser treatment quality than they're supposed to. So we really do support improvement on our stormwater systems, and whatever is the fairest way to get the best improvement at the nobody wants their rates to go up. We understand that they are going to go up, but we're really asking that our townships get an improvement for what we are going to be asking our ratepayers to put into. So we have selected option 2 with the hope that this will be better for our places. With issue 2 around access to drinking water and the wastewater services, since we put in the submission, there was a flurry of discussion around whether we had chosen the right option. We did our best to try and understand with the information that we had on what would give us, in Hokianga particularly, and I include Kaikohe in that because, as we all know, the discharge of the wastewater systems, including Kaikohe, our 4 systems all end up in the Hokianga and ultimately in the Moana, which is absolutely unacceptable to the vast majority of people, as shown through the resource consent hearings over the past few years. So it's a very hot topic in our ward. We did our best to figure out what would give us the best outcome to improve those systems with more money, with the least impact on our ratepayers, as we're all trying to do. Whether it's option 2 or any of the other options, what we know is it's not the status quo. The status quo is not working for Hokianga, Kaikohe Hokianga, and the status quo actually has systems that have not been maintained overall. Many of them have not been properly maintained over the last decades and are non-compliant quite often, as many of you in this room know. So whatever brings us to an improvement in actually land-based systems, and sharing that across the district, we felt with the information that we had would be the best way. Now, if there's different information when you have your discussions on your choices, then we're not stuck on option 2. What we want is the result and the outcomes, please. Over the time that I've been involved around the wastewater issues in Hokianga, which is about 15 years so far, I've heard from both councillors and staff members at council saying that Hokianga doesn't even pay enough rates. We don't have enough ratepayers, or the ratepayers don't pay. We've been told many times we can't afford a better system. We've been told also many times that rates are not a user-paid system. And so I hear all of these and I take all this on. We've also heard lately that we won't get the investment in Hokianga around our wastewater treatment because we're not considered a growth area. And I think there's another way of looking at these things. Our harbour that is taking everybody's discharge, including, I might add, the septic waste from other wards, which causes our Ranguni wastewater system also to malfunction. So we're not just taking out, it's not just a fee for service does the work for us, because we're taking yours as well. Hokianga is a national taonga that needs special treatment. The actual harbour itself, the mauri, the life of the harbour itself, needs to be treated better. When I hear that you're not a growth area, so you won't get an investment, I sort of flip it the other way too, because I hear the same thing when I'm in the housing space. You're not a growth area because you don't have employment. Now, I think to some extent these things are connected, because if we have a malfunctioning wastewater system that pollutes our harbour and inhibits our lifestyles and our ability to sell ourselves to tourists, if that's what we want to do. And so our wastewater isn't functioning. So how can we have housing? And then on the other side, I'm in spaces where we actually can't get employees because there's no housing to put them in. This is a very real situation. And then when we do attract employees, their partners struggle to find employment because we don't have the sorts of infrastructure that support this. So I'm asking you please to take it into consideration in a different way, that if you invest in our area, including into wastewater, then that will help us to grow in a way that Hokianga wants to grow, which is not at the expense of our taiao, it's not at the expense of our harbour, but in alignment with the restoration of these. So whatever option allows us to have land-based treatment and allows us to have housing done in a sustainable way that will support employment on the terms that that Hokianga and Kaikohe would like to have, that's the option we choose. I'm not sure what number that is. Also, just keeping in mind that with our harbour, it's not just ourselves that enjoy it. We get manuhiri also from your wards, including many people in their fishing boats and so on, who I'm sure would love to have a clean harbour. So I think the targeted rate really does need exploring in terms of who benefits and what's the bigger purpose of what we're trying to achieve as a council and as a people. Oh, crikey. Okay. The services, yes, I think again, well, actually, we decided that as we understood the information, the status quo is better than the other options in terms of the multi-purpose hubs. Because the more you've centralised, including amalgamation back in whatever day, some of you might have been around then, amalgamation has not worked for us. I don't think it's improved our services and improved what we get for our rates. That's what everyone's telling me. So removing our service centres to make just 3 or whatever centres in the bigger townships is not something that our board supports. I understand about the costs. It would be really great if you sought to maybe offset some of those costs by utilising those service centres in other ways. Internet doesn't work. If you're living up Weka out at Miti, you cannot expect, particularly our older people or our people with lower digital literacy, to just do everything online, and also in an impoverished community of deprivation, coming into Kaikohe to access services is really not feasible and not fair. I want to be able to go back. We all want to be able to go back to our people and say, this is what you get for your rates. So we absolutely support improving the roading, especially our ensuring that everybody has access to their own homes and emergency services access, which is not guaranteed in our area at the moment. So we absolutely support the investment in roading and drainage. I'm rushing now. Equity is what our board has said in our strategic plan, where after equity, we ask you to look at it in a different way, not just population based, not just already snowballing and putting money into the areas that are growing and have that investment. Be the council, please, be the council that allows Hokianga and Kaikohe to grow in the way that we want to grow, to invest in our areas and our people with the understanding that that we live really rurally and we want to, and we have the right to, and we would love to have investment in the things that allow us to have health and well-being in those places. Kia ora.
Any questions?
Yeah, just a quick question.
Councillor Research, then Councillor.
Thanks, Jesse. You, first off, this didn't come to the community board, and that's what Mike's comment is, just a correction, that it just didn't go through community board. But that aside, majority would have agreed to what's here, so I recognise that. So just saying on here, waste water, you actually had a wastewater working party, and I know the discharge of land is a big issue, and that's what's going for a number of years, and I believe you were on it.
Te Mauri o Te Wai?
Yeah.
For our new system, yes.
Did that actually process work for you? Because I'm
Yes, actually, what I wanted to say before I started rushing was thank you to everybody who approved the Better Off Fund under the Three Waters. That's been amazing for us. We are working through that. That is allowing us to trial, it will happen soon, the trial of the electrocoagulation system, that we will be able to get real-time data and comparison about whether that very affordable system may be a game changer. So thank you to everybody. I know you were all a part of that. That's been amazing.
Thank you, Councillor Hardwiga.
Ai morena Jesse, nā mihi mo ngā tuhinga mahia nei e tō rōpū. He pātai, you know, following on from what John has said, have your, you know, your Te Mauri o Te Wai, the rōpū that's been endorsed, I suppose, by NRC, found an alternative land disposal site?
So with the Better Off Fund under Te Maunga Te Wai, all these applications happen so fast and there's only ever a certain amount of funding. So our initial step is to put in the system to, but hopefully vastly improve what is at Rawene, and also engage people to seek those sites for land disposal. So we have not yet found sites, but that requires a lot of community and hapu engagement. And we've actually just taken on people through the Better Off Fund to undertake that engagement. So we're very hopeful, but timeframes and funding haven't allowed us to complete that step yet, but that's underway.
Because is it true that 2025 is the date, that's the timeline given as part of year 3 to find those site and confirm it and buy it?
That's definitely the plan. Yes, that's the plan. And I think once we get the data from the system, so Taipa's putting in one as well. So we'll have 2 options of comparing data with what's already happening. And when we have that data, we'll know what size of land and what type of land is suitable, because potentially it's a whole game changer of what the soil needs to absorb.
Kia ora. Tēnā koe, Jesse, thank you for coming to submit on our long-term plan on behalf of the Kaikohe Hokianga Community Board, and keep up the amazing mahi you're doing.
Kia ora. I'm just going to say that if I don't remember, please keep the community grant, the placemaking grant. The RFS needs to be sorted, the dust matrix, the paper roads need mowing, and those are the things. I hear Fire Chicky in the background, you're saying you didn't talk about the beautification of the towns. People need to see where their rates are going. Might only be a small cost. Please keep us in mind. Kia ora.
Tēnā koe. Our next verbal submitters to our long-term plan are Bruce and Cheryl McNabb. Kia ora. Welcome to Chambers.
Thank you.
Now, feel free to sit down or stand up or make
I've
yourself.
probably got a slideshow. I'll probably stand here and get out people's slide. Just the laser. No, it doesn't. I have just a trial bus. This is turned on. And forward and backwards is how we. This is the movie.
Grace, do you have control over that slideshow?
Yeah, his clicker's connected to my laptop.
So pointed at Grace.
We
can move it through.
No worries, we'll make sure that it's working before we pass the time over to you for submission.
Oh, nice. Look at the time.
No, that's all right. We'll make sure that everything's all hunky-dory before we.
Bruce, you can always nod to Grace.
Sure.
I've got my,
Do you want to try using the click in there? Is that your one or our? Okay.
for a moment.
Yeah. Okay.
For members, Bruce's written submission can be found on page 30.
Yep.
There we go. That was probably lost.
That's the other part of, I think it was just Cheryl, my support person today.
Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you very much.
So thanks very much that we had the opportunity to be here with this presentation. I think I might need my IH. But I can see it being out. So the purpose of our submission really is to present the experiences of one of the small players in the cycle trail scenario. And we're one of many people who have been affected in the last few years by events which I'll relate. And our operation is, we call it Mulga Bills. And that's because we lived in Australia for a long time. Mulga Bills, wonderful time by Banjo Patterson, about a Australian guy who buys a bicycle. An experience with it, so we call it that. But so we accommodate people, 5 people in that cottage, which is located near the Kaikohe airport. And we provide meals, and we do present, have an emphasis on local history, the Maori history, as well as the European history, with a touch of Australian stuff. And Wallace Wehogi, which probably most of you know, he used to come along to our guests in the evening and just tell them a little bit about local history. And that was a tremendously grateful, great success. And I got the clients to give a kaha to Wallace so they could provide that to them. So that's one really good emphasis we have. And our guests are generally independent travellers. They're not part of some tour or group or anything like that. People just may ring up the day before, sometimes 49 or 6 months ahead. And without, invariably, they're really great people. They always leave the place immaculate. And they're good people to have around. At one stage, about 3 years ago, we had a family of Norwegians stay with us. There's some of this grandma and granddad, mum and dad left. And they had 2 little kids with them, one on the bike and one on the thing. They stayed with us and they had a tremendously great experience staying with us with our food. They visited a few local things as well. So just staying with us means that we went to Napa Springs. I think we went to the Honey Hickey Memorial and a few other things like that. So anybody that comes onto the trail actually spends more money than these other parts. History. We started our accommodation business, if you like, about 2017, 2018. We had a sleep out on our property, which we built around about 2006, 2007. That's for family, relatives, workmates, the odd enemy would come and stay with us, usually for free, or maybe just give us $10 per pound. So that was the purpose of sleep out. When the cycle trail came into being, and that was when instigated by people, local people thinking about it. John Key in 2008 provided funds to ourselves, plus other people, other councils, to make a cycle trail. And in my submission, written submission, I sort of go a little bit about that. Just some letters I sent to the Herald and some replies and so on, which detail that scenario. And one of the senior councillors who's not with us now, he or she once said to me, Bruce, he said, you shouldn't have told them this, the council. You shouldn't have told them. They're out of control. And so here's my last statement there. I came to the realisation of the mistake to tell the Far North District Council what I wanted to do, have a change of purpose with the cottage. And that's the lesson, is that if anybody wants to do something, it should be straight, simple, logical, and easy to run. And in fact, I think I always would contact the Far North District Council because I can't be dishonest. But just to say, that was the idea. Now, we started in 2018, and you can see on the left-hand side there, can you guys see that? Left-hand side was our normalised sales with regard to the sales we had in 2019. So about 80% of 2019, which is considered 100%, that's the starting point. In 2000, they dropped off a bit. 2021 dropped way off. In 2022, which was 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, really decreased. 2023, we've had our daughter in the cottage, so we had a few cyclists, probably had about eight or nine. During that time, we just kick our daughter out, they come in and they want to do another. So why is this happening? You're operators.
You are.
Oh, okay. So in 2020, there's a drop off there because we had a COVID lockdown early part of the year. And that did affect their sales compared to the year before. So you can see the drop. There was a drop of only about 15 or 20% or so. And that was when I think 2020 it was pre-Omicron. So that was the country was pretty much free of the virus at that stage. In 2021, that was when we had the big lockdown in Auckland, which affected us. And you can see that sales dropped off dramatically then. Why would that be? Because in 2020, it didn't drop off all that much, just because of the COVID lockdown. 2021, even though the lockdown was longer, you wouldn't have expected to drop down. So why? Because we had a crowd closure in between Kaikohe and well, and a bit of the work that the rail trust was doing. That was supposed to be, Cheryl went to a meeting in Kaikohe and quite a big meeting with people from the council here and people from some other organisation, which is supposed to bring everybody together. But I found that was rather a satisfactory meeting. Some people had the idea they weren't going to budge and they were rather arrogant about it. And the closure was going to be for 2 or 3 months, which wasn't too bad. But in fact, it lasted about a year and a half. And that was, from that time, the rail people allowed cyclists to go on the train. So, an alternative to get to a tour. Why does this happen? Not most coast anymore. Some of our clients will be out in the trailers have become part of the close now. They lose interest. They decide they're going to go somewhere else. That was actually quite a big thing. Coast to coast sounds dramatic and romantic. Coast to Kaikohe, it loses its flavour. But that actually we saw that effect.
2 minutes left, Bruce.
Yeah. How long have we got?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, unnecessary complications with freedom riders. They have to, now that there's access on the train, 3 days a week at the moment, totally unsatisfactory. Somebody just decides they're going to come. People involved in tours and things like that, doesn't matter much if they can be all rearranged. So the part we're talking about there is closed trail, and that's where the rail link is now being established, the red butters there. Their plan is to go further all the way through the tour. I'm not privy to all the things that are going on with you guys. So I don't really know what's going on, but my view is that if we can have a bypass where the closed trail part is, and we just use the main green part on the right as part of the existing trail, that would be great. At the moment, we train, there's an impediment. So we're really much around that. Council role, you guys. These are just off the cuff suggestions. I'm not trying to be rude or anything. Take the cycle trail seriously. Provide an officer with authority to liaise effectively with cycle trail administration. I think that's missing at the moment. To seriously pursue sources of funds to develop and complete the trail. I know you just can't dream up $20 million, $30 million. It's impossible. Don't expect it, but at least we can have it in the forefront of our minds to work towards a solution, however that might be. Maybe Elon Musk will come to the party. Okay, then come to the trail. Last thing, last 1 minute. There's the figures up on the top right there are the visitor numbers that have used the trail, cycling, and the equivalent monies that are provided for our local economy. These figures I got from cycle trail management, so they're actually quite factual. And you can see that 2019, 2020 was quite high. Of course, it dropped off due to, not due to COVID, really due to the rail length. I suggested if we get the trail back to running order again and effective, by 2030, we could double the number of people we had here. Probably more than double. But if that was the case, what would that mean? It would mean that we would contribute 3.5% to the far north GDP, which is an amazingly large amount. So any investment by you guys really encouraging other people to do things into the trail. And a previous speaker alluded to that for trucks would benefit. Getting the side drive back to working more again would be a great benefit for you. I'm not trying to get rude here. Don't be my other. Thank you, the whole community, which I'm sure you do. Support the cycle. And there's a cartoon. Tony, the old guy, goes there, so life can only be understood backwards. Good look at the history and learn lessons from it. But the wide dial must be looked forward. So we've got to look forward, learn lessons from the past, work forward, and if that's possible, go with the facts. And I've prevented a few facts here. We're going to realistically actually see what should happen.
Thank you very much, Bruce. Thank you for your incredible presentation. We've probably got only time for one or two quick questions. My quick question is, are you happy to table your presentation, your slideshow you've given us so that can be circulated to all members? Thank you. Are there any other questions for Bruce?
Just one other quick question. That was one, so thanks. Well, the other one was, are you connected to wastewater or services from the town at all?
I'm getting to the info.
Thought so, thank you.
I'm a Lone Ranger.
Yeah, no, that's all, Bruce, thanks, great. I'm looking forward to that presentation, thanks.
Thank you very much, Bruce and Cheryl, for your time and coming in and the time you've taken to really outline the positive effects that any funding we put into our cycle trail has on small and local business operators. So great to have you here. I love that last slide you had as well. There's a Māori proverb that says the same thing. It's te tiro hakamuri ka anga hakamua. We have to look back, but we still have to be moving forward. So thank you very much for your time today.
Should use the Maori one.
I like that. I wrote it down.
So it's like the universal.
Thank you.
I have actually got just leave if anybody wants them. So you got to get to the area.
We'll get those circulated. Thank you very much to you both.
Thanks, Bruce.
Next verbal submitter is Margaret Millen. I believe Margaret is online. Margaret, just want to check that you can hear us here in chambers, all right? And if you want to unmute, we'll just test your sound on your end.
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome, Margaret. Now, we can't see you, but that's all right, we can hear you.
Well, I have got my camera on and I deliberately tested it last night to make sure.
I wonder if there's a shutter in front of your device's camera that's preventing us from being able to see you this morning. Do you want to just try and see if there's anything in front of the camera itself?
Oh,
Here we go, Margaret.
Okay, I found a switch camera thingy.
Excellent. Great, Margaret. Hey, Margaret, thank you very much for your submission to our long-term plan for the Far North District Council. Members, you can find that on page 36. You can take your submission as read, Margaret, and we will allow you 10 minutes to speak to your submission. And then we allow 3 minutes for members to ask questions if there are any. I'm going to pass the floor over to you.
Thank you. Right, I'm Margaret and I live in Paihia. Firstly, I want to talk to you about issue 2 water systems. I strongly oppose increases in water rates, and particularly so in Paihia and other small communities. This is despite the fact that Paihia desperately needs an improved water quality of water supply. It's unacceptable to run water in a bath to find the water is brown in colour. And I've had visitors comment on the awful taste of Paihia water. This is not a good look when we have both national and international visitors. I boil my drinking water and I wonder what the dirt is doing to my hot water cylinder. However, I have read that Kaikohe now has a new water supply, no doubt paid for by all ratepayers. It hardly seems fair, having subsidised the water systems for other larger towns, that Paihia and other smaller communities be expected to be solely responsible for upgrades or replacements of their own water systems. Finally, on this issue, to my mind, asking people to vote on rate increases for either issue 1, wastewater, or issue 2, water supply, is both unfair and, I hate to say it, irresponsible when there is absolutely no indication of what this may cost the ratepayers individually. Next, issue 3 on community services. I also strongly oppose the removal of both the Information Centre and the Paihia Library, which is situated in the historic Williams House. My reasons are these. Firstly, the Information Centre. This is situated by the wharf exactly where it needs to be, given the high number of tourists, both national and international, who visit the site. It was the spot where numerous passengers off the nearly 90 ships which visit Paihia this year were deposited. It was a very, very busy place then. Situated where it is, congestion was much less than if moved into the shopping area, which or could also cause traffic issues. Secondly, the library at Williams House. This is an historic building owned by Far North Holdings, part of the Far North District Council. And the space here is fully utilised as the building also houses the museum upstairs. The cost of this museum was funded by fundraising and was partially covered by the support of the Bay of Islands Whangaroa Community Board, which matched the Friends of Williams House dollar for dollar to the sum of $20,000. The actual sum was something like about $120,000 spent. Far North District Council has supported the development and the improvements made to the building. The museum was opened just last year. Various other activities take place in the library, which is a central hub in the town. These include a book club, children's groups, women's groups, etc. The house is frequently enjoyed by visitors to the town, library, holiday makers, tourists and locals. I mentioned the Friends of Williams House. This organisation has operated for 20 years and was instrumental in saving the old building when it was in a dilapidated state. The Friends organise and run the second-hand book garage, raising funds to maintain the Stone Shed Museum on the property, and which is situated in the oldest building of its kind in Paihia. We also maintain the outhouses, and I don't mean toilets, and maintain the gardens on the Williams House property. All these reduce the cost of maintaining this heritage site. We also buy and donate books and equipment for the library. To understand the community, have councillors visited the two sites? Have they visited the information site in the height of summer? Or seen our fundraising book garage or our museums? Have they walked the Heritage Trail, which includes Williams House and the library? Or read our book, Protecting Paradise in Paihia, which is the story of the Williams House, which is sold in the library? All these things and the information centre, which incidentally, where people leave items in the absence of a manned police station, are central to the life of Paihia folk. Paihia is the focal point for many Bay of Islands activities. People come to holiday here and then spend money in the wider area as well. As such, it is essential we have the facilities, both library and information centre, and the infrastructure to meet their demands. Having read of all of the projects happening in various places in the far north and those listed in the long-term planning document, it appears that comparatively very little of our ratepayer money is spent in Paihia, where rates are high. Yes, moving our water treatment system is listed there, but that is many, many years overdue and still not on an immediate plan. I gather it's on a 3 to 4 years plan, I think. From discussions I have been a party to, the removal of either of our two essential services, the information centre or the library, would be extremely unpopular with Paihia ratepayers and highly detrimental to our community. If the library was removed, what would become of Williams House? I believe that the council should concentrate on its core responsibilities: roads, footpaths, lighting, water supply, stormwater, sewerage, libraries, cemeteries, etc. Not fritter money away on non-essentials like beautiful towns, parks, playgrounds, etc., especially when money is tight. And observant people have seen this recession coming since 2019. Did the council plan for it? An example, I have been an educator most of my life, but don't believe providing scholarship with ratepayers' money should be council business. The old common sense saying still holds today: take care of your pennies and your pounds take care of themselves. Or in modern parlance, take care of your cents and your dollars take care of themselves. Finally, and they heave a sigh of relief, council should stick to core business and continue to provide the basic essential services which they have historically, not cause harm. Many, the elderly in particular, would be harmed by the closing of libraries, and especially so in Paihia and other small communities. I do hope that council members give careful thought to the needs of smaller communities and do no harm. Thank you for listening.
Kia ora, Margaret, thank you very much. We've got time to spare as well. Are there any questions? Deputy Mayor Stratford.
Thank you. Thanks, Margaret. What a wonderful submission. So just recapping, you do support the planned nearly, what is it? 18 million proposed for the Paihia water treatment plant, moving off the water source and the new water treatment plant.
Of course, we desperately need it.
Okay, thank you.
But I don't think it should be funded by only Paihia ratepayers as indicated in, well, as I read in the long-term planning documents. As I stated, you know, we have funded other communities in the improvement of their water, so why should we be left with the sole cost of improving our water system when it is long, long overdue? our water tastes foul.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you very much for your verbal submission to council, Margaret. It will all be taken into consideration when
I
we
do
end.
hope so. Oh, sorry, I interrupted. I do hope so. Thank you for listening.
Today.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. I can see Leonie is online there. Leonie, just checking you can hear us, and if you wanted to unmute and just test out your sound for us as well.
Order, is it working?
Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear here for members. The Bay of Islands Watchdog written submission can be found on page 46. Happy to pass the 10 minutes of time that we're allowing for verbal submissions over to you, Leonie, and there are 3 minutes for questions after that if there are any. I'll give you a 2-minute heads up.
Fantastic, thanks. It might be shorter than that this time.
Excellent, happy to pass over to you.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I'm speaking on behalf of the Bay of Islands Watchdogs, our group of 1,700 dog owners. Just as this LTP is light, so is our submission, unusually. We understand that at the moment, water-related infrastructure and roads are a key priority. That does not mean, however, that the welfare of dog-owning households, more than 50% of the households in the district, is no longer important or can be forgotten. Thus, we ask that the elected members consider our 3 cost-free, very reasonable recommendations relating to dogs in the LTP. Our first recommendation is that before you approve the proposal for a $160,000 fence for the Kaikohe or Northern Pound, that you ask management to provide you with greater detail. The proposed cost is currently around $700 a metre, which appears to us to be high. There are several issues which are linked to this fencing, which we've discussed in the past with FNDC at meetings and in written submissions. It may be trying to mitigate some issues with this pound, which would be great if it is. Those issues are, 1, the need for this pound to be open to the public to ensure transparency, which may require that the sewerage ponds, where it's co-located, be fenced off from people who are visiting and looking to adopt dogs. The second problem it might be trying to mitigate is the need to protect both staff and pound dogs from the health risks of birds which have died in the sewage ponds from avian botulism. We hope that the high cost doesn't relate to the need to protect pound dogs from being stolen. This happens very rarely across New Zealand and other pounds, at times 1 or 2 dogs per year. If it's the case that it's trying to address that, a better form of protection for dog thieves is quality CCTV cameras, which are used in other pounds such as Napier. I'll email out after this speech, not only the speech, but a previous submission we sent to FNDC with the evidence that we collected on the Kaikohe pound site, which relates particularly to the sewerage ponds, just so that the newly elected members, or, in the last couple of years, have that info. And as a reminder to those of you who've been around a while of what some of the concerns were at the time that FNDC was choosing where to put the dog pound. Okay, so that number 1 is have a look at that 160. Number 2, we recognise that the $63,019 for a dog park, which was in the last LTP, is not currently a priority. We ask, though, that if you approve this LTP light, that you make an on-the-record public statement which guarantees that this funding will be put back in the next version of the LTP. A dog park, wherever it is a perfect vehicle for community education around dogs and provides a safe place where puppy and dog training can occur and the public can see that happening. Just as a reminder too, for those who haven't been around a while, under the Dog Control Act, councils must have a dog control policy which has regard to, amongst other things, and I quote, the exercise and recreational needs of dogs and their owners, unquote. Okay, so that's our second recommendation is please pop that 63,000 back in later. Our third recommendation is also cost neutral. We know that all our elected members are deeply concerned about the housing crisis in Northland and that you want all of us residents to have a safe roof over our heads. We know too that many of you love your own dogs and consider them family members. In a recent article in the Northern Advocate, journalist Jenny Ling found that just 13% of the available rental homes in Northland were open to applications from pet owners. Over 50% of our households have dogs. In that same article, the volunteer founder of Donna Doolittle's Animal Rescue in Kaikohe, vet nurse Donna Badarak, is quoted as saying that she's constantly hearing from people who have to rehome their pets because they can't find a house. She said, quote, "It's every day. People saying we're moving and can't take the dog with us and have to give their dogs and cats up," end quote. These bans were initially put in place to mitigate the risk that dog owners will let their dogs wander unsupervised and kill substantial numbers of kiwi in doing so. The evidence, however, tells us that the way to mitigate those risks in any region is threefold. 1, to ensure that a high proportion of the dogs are desexed. 2, to provide community education so that residents become aware of their personal responsibilities around their dogs and around wildlife. And 3, to ensure effective animal control. Those 3 necessary things did not exist 20 years ago. Banning dogs or restricting their numbers via the RMA was thus a workaround solution put in place by FNDC to protect wildlife. The unintended consequence of that workaround, however, is that FNDC is now literally, actively, and knowingly contributing to our housing crisis. We ask again, respectfully, that one or more of our elected members seek to halt FNDC's current policy of banning or restricting dogs through subdivision consents and conservation covenants when those properties are in areas where there are many kiwi. Thank you for your consideration. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Tēnā koe, Leonie. Thank you very much for your verbal submission. Are there any questions from councillors? You've blown us all away. Look at that.
I wish.
I'm just going to quickly take this opportunity, Leonie. At our last council meeting, I offered a formal apology to the Bay of Islands watchdogs for the incorrect interpretation of our rolling around placards in here when we had the Northland Watch Group in here with their placards. Now that I've got you live on the stream here, I just wanted to offer that apology face to face. I was going to say in person, but of course you're not here in Chambers. So please pass that on to the Bay of Islands watchdogs for us, and we will make sure that we treat everyone the same next time.
Fantastic. That sounds really great. And I'm here with my red flags. I'm quite far away, so I can't be dangerous to you today.
Thank you, Leonie. You have a great Friday.
Thank you. See you later.
All right, if we could, we are going to pause for a break. If I could ask everyone to be back here at 11:10, so 20-minute break.
Can you hear us?
Sure, committee. Are you?
No.
Are you Colin?
Sam?
Yeah, Colin Dow, Group Manager Regulatory Services.
Sure, Colin, are we awaiting elected members to join you, or are you?
Yes, we are. Tui Shortland and Councillor Shortland and Councillor Carr were intending to join remotely from their homes.
All right then.
They have the link.
What we might do is we will put you into a holding pattern, and I can see that Tracy is online, and she is next on my list, representing the New Zealand Automobile Association, the Northland Council. Tracy, just want to check you can hear us here, and if you're happy to give your verbal submission first.
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. That's great. Hey, for members in the room, the AA Northland Council submission is on page 56 of our books. Kia ora, Tracy, thank you for submitting to our the council long-term plan. we're giving verbal submitters 10 minutes to speak to their submissions, and we allow 3 minutes for questions. Did you have any questions before we get into things and pass the time over to you?
No, I'm all good to go, thank you.
Excellent. I'm happy to pass the time over to you.
Thank you, and good morning, councillors. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do an oral submission on behalf of the Northland Council of the New Zealand Automobile Association. So the New Zealand Automobile Association has over 1.8 million members. Northland is one of 18 district councils with a membership of 53,000, 13,000 being in the Far North District. The council's submission to the Far North District Long-Term Plan 24-27 is regarding the need to have a regional approach to delivering joined-up services for roading and transportation in Northland. Your plan is an infrastructure recovery plan, the focus being on the #1 priority to repair our transport network, which central government have recognised by giving the Far North District Council the option to create a shortened 3-year plan. I will discuss 5 reasons why this regional approach for joined up services is fundamental for the Far North District to deliver on its #1 priority of repairing our transport network, plus also how the district can continue to grow and prosper. First, repairing your network. As per your draft LTP, there remain 89 sites of damaged roading from the significant weather events since July 22. Some of these sites are very complex with significant engineering, funding and planning questions that must be resolved before contractors can start working on repairs. Northland as a region can afford to attract and employ skilled specialists whom the individual roading authorities would not be able to do. The recruitment and retention of specialist staff provides the necessary knowledge to take advantage of funding options, getting the engineering and planning right, and getting the job done. #2, managing risk. The total roading network that the Far North District Council own is 2,509 kilometres, which equates to over 70% of value of your total assets. How does the council manage the risks associated with maintaining the value of these assets? Public dissatisfaction about quality of services and the frequency of repairs continues to grow, which is an indication of a deteriorating asset base. We all understand that the funding available does not meet the costs associated with these assets. What this council can control is the level of expertise and efficiencies that a regional approach brings to asset, network and contract management, planning and specialised aspects of the network, for example, bridges. Third, economic potential. The recent report by the Northland Corporate Group to unleash the economic potential of Northland through the proposed 4-lane expressway connecting Te Tai Tokerau Northland to Auckland by 2040 quantifies how transport infrastructure can change lives. By combining our resources and being collaborative in our approach on a region-wide basis, the Far North has the opportunity to achieve better outcomes for its economy, residents and road users. Having a highly skilled and responsive team delivering the Far North's roading and transport services will be an enabler. 4, one voice. Recent meetings with government ministers and CEOs of large Te Tai Tokerau businesses have established that our region needs to advocate with one voice to be heard and to be effective. The work that the Mayoral Forum undertook in producing the Blue Book, establishing the infrastructure damage from last year's severe weather events within weeks, quantifying what work was required and requesting funding ensured that decision makers had the information required in a timely manner to respond. This work would not have been produced without the knowledge and skill base of a regional roading and transportation team. And lastly, road safety. As the region with the highest number of road fatalities per head of population, Northland needs to do better. The far north, as at the end of April, has had 8 fatalities, 7 of these on local roads. Northland has 17.6% of fatalities to date, 18 this year, almost double as at the same time last year. An integrated regional approach to road safety ensures that there are highly skilled road safety engineers working with road safety partners to identify priority areas of action based on data. The AA Northland Council is aware of decisions being made regarding the current delivery vehicle for a regional approach to roading and transportation, following a Section 17A review of the Northland Transport Alliance. Our submission is to ensure that there is retained a regional approach to roading and transportation services, including public transport and road safety initiatives. As you will see, a regional approach is fundamental to the Far North District, so it can deliver on its #1 priority, fixing the roads. Plus also with the added advantage to grow and prosper as a vital part of Northland. The end.
I'll look around the table if there are any questions here or online from members who are virtual today.
I've got one.
Councillor McNally.
Thanks, Tracy.
Yes,
Do you think,
Nelly.
do you think the current condition of our roading network supports what's been in place by the existing regional structure that you're referring to?
I think our roads would have been in worse condition without the regional structure we have. There are so many factors that are causing our roads to be in the state they are. As I mentioned, there is funding, and we have done as a council and as an organisation have done a lot of work in calling for more funding. There is also the weather that we've had. So from our perspective as a council, we strongly believe that a regional approach is required. We're not in a position to dig deep into the current vehicle that's been used.
Thank you for that, Tracy, and thank you for your verbal submission to our long-term plan, and appreciate the work that you do and the advocacy that you do on our behalf down in Wellington for our, as you rightly so put it, our #1 priority up here, which is our transport network. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you.
Kia ora, Colin. Are you a lone soldier today? I can't see the members' circles up there.
Marina Mayor, I'm in the mercy of your generosity. It appears that our 2 elected representatives haven't joined the meeting yet. So it's really in your hands of how you want to proceed. I can proceed if you wish. Please just join now.
Now, there's a saying that I won't repeat here. Kia ora, Deputy Chair Shortland. It's great to have you on our call just in time too, because we were just jumping over to you for our Northern Regional Council verbal submission to our long-term plan. I just want to check, are you expecting to wait for council if we could carry on with our list, or are you too happy to take it away today?
I don't think she can hear.
Sorry, what was the question, Moko?
Kia ora, Deputy Chair Shortland. Just checking if you wanted to wait for Councillor Carr, or if yourself and Colin are happy to take the reins for your verbal submission to us today.
Shall we take the reins, Colin? I know there's been a technical issue, but I don't want to hold up the process if it's okay. And he wasn't intending on speaking, but he was wanting to be present to total call.
That's all right. I can feel his presence here in chambers, so I'm happy to pass over to you both. You will have 10 minutes for your verbal submission. And for members in the room and online, that is on page 48. You can take your submission as read and happy for you to speak to it. There'll be 3 minutes for questions after, but you know all of this type of thing because it's your bread and water as well. So I'll pass over to you. Kia ora.
Tēnā koutou e aku rangatira o te kaunihera o te hiku. As we gather to discuss the future of Te Hiku, may I acknowledge the tireless efforts you've all undertaken to uplift and protect our beloved region. It's my pleasure today to thank you on behalf of Te Kaunihera o Te Raki for your dedication and reaffirm our commitment to working together for the betterment of our communities, ensuring a flourishing environment for generations to come. He oi anō, may I pass you over to Colin to present further detail on our submission. Nā reira, hure noa te whare, tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora.
Marina Koto, Far North District Councillors and Mayor. I think it's well known all councils throughout the country are in the process of having to make tough decisions on budgets, LTP expenditure, and balancing, maintaining good services to their community. In saying that, it's still our general theme you'll appreciate for our submission is that the Northland Regional Council sees as critical and top priorities expenditure being towards maintaining, operating good quality and compliant free water services and on work that will help and improve community resilience, particularly during natural events such as floods and drought. So our theme is very much, if you like, as you'll appreciate, focused on free water services. We've certainly we certainly oppose any options that we see as a step backwards. In other words, those options we're taking either a status quo or minimal approach, and we support the options where you are expanding the work in the free water services area. So it is fair to say, if we turn our minds to wastewater, if you look at the Far North District Council's wastewater treatment plant performance, it's not pretty ready. That's pretty clear. And really, if although we appreciate that there has been funding providing for some of the bigger scale plants and major issues, we're still concerned that it's not clear how you will be addressing some of the other issues in the short to medium term. So, as pointed out in our submission, really it is critical that you prioritise expenditure there and avoid or mitigate the risk of major failure of systems and further enforcement action from the regional council. The regional council doesn't want to take the district council, to court, but if things don't improve, that's really our only option left. So in terms of, just to comment on your wastewater services rate and water supply services rate, we do support that proposal option 2, that's the district-wide rate, and we give an example that we did that approach for our, if you like, flood protection works, and we have been able to provide flood protection works to the smaller Northland communities, and if it works for that, it should work with your other water services like water supply and wastewater. There's a reminder in there about the land drainage districts. The consents for those districts have been outstanding for some time. And again, there's no clear indication of progress being made on obtaining the necessary consents. So I don't want to dwell too much on the specific details, but I'm sort of happy to answer any questions on our submission if you want further detail or viewpoints.
Thank you very much for that. We've got Deputy Mayor Stretford here with the question.
Dr. Colin, in your submission, there's a point about the major water treatment plant upgrades and the cost of purchasing shares in the Mid-North Water Scheme. Are you referring to the Otawere Dam shares?
Oh, I would have thought that might have been, I'd need to follow up on that, but I would have thought it might have been potentially the Matawai scheme, but I can.
Look who just walked in the door, Joe Carr.
That's all right. Colin, we can look up our own resolution number there.
Yeah. So I apologise for that.
And just welcoming Councillor Joe Carr, who has entered our chambers as well. Sure. Was that the end of your question, Maureen?
Just, Colin, are you aware that we have started receiving water from the Matawai Dam?
Yeah, I think there has been, you have undergone some testing and it is, if you like, treatable. So I think we are aware of that situation. So as I said before, I'll clarify the issue that's been raised about the shares and what particular water supply that relates to.
And I did have one more question.
Yes.
In the submission, you're referring to under climate and resilience, strongly encourage FNDC to continue to leverage off the benefits of a collaborative approach to climate action. Are you referring to the joint committee and the joint work streams?
That's correct, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Councillor McNally.
Thank you. Under your submission, infrastructure network resilience, thank you for the comments there. I'm quite keen on that, and we've been pushing for the increased back to basic road maintenance, area culverts and drains, etc. But this relates to water. Who's responsible for catchment management?
I suppose there is a, if you like, overlapping responsibility. Obviously, part of the catchment includes urban and residential areas, and there's that upstream and broader rural catchment. So there is an overlap, but we certainly our main interest, if you like, as regional council, or the main delineation has been very much along the lines of we will look after the broader rural catchment, and it's appropriate that districts look after their urban and community catchment areas.
Okay, I'll bring you directly to your comment in here. NRC requests FNDC to work collaboratively to enable a strategic road network focusing on climate adaptation and increased group resilience to mitigate flood vulnerability. So when I get around the district, tree debris in rivers and streams, there are direct threats to our local and state highway road and infrastructure, particularly bridges and culverts. And I could take you and show you two massive pine trees up the Puketoutra that will wipe out, if they travel, they will wipe out a state I-10 bridge. Going out of Kaikohe, just down Guy Road here, if you look south down the creek, over that bridge just down the bottom of town here, there's a massive tree dam right there, visible every time I drive over it. I mentioned it before. So I'm back to my question, who's responsible for catchment management? I believe it's council.
Yeah, so in that context, Councillor, where you've got roadie network, and that roadie network is the responsibility of the district council or road controlling authority to maintain. It is a responsibility of that, if you like, operator to maintain the road corridor, and that may require removal of trees and so forth.
Thank you very much.
Nice pass the back.
Final question from councillor Haukia Parawira.
Kia ora koutou, kia ora Joe. Just one little question. Does NRC have a program for weed control in like areas like, isolated rural areas? Just asking.
Oh,
Like the moth and all those ginger plants.
Yeah, so look, the main way the regional council's involved is actually to facilitate and help local community groups with pest control, including weeds. And there are a number of those groups that we, if you like, help in letting them do the work, and we're basically facilitating and enabling those groups to do the work locally. Did you have a particular
57 seconds for a question from councillor Vucic as well.
I thought we had time. Thanks, Colin. A note on page, maybe you don't have that, you're looking at Waipapa and Kaikohe re-flood and climate effects. That's one area that certainly worries me, given what happened in Hawke's Bay. And Waipapa is built on a floodplain. What has NRC planned or have thoughts on how we can actually mitigate against extensive flooding there, which happened in 1981, I believe. As well.
You may recall, councillor, that we had looked at this some years ago, and we didn't progress the matter. As far as I'm aware, but again, I can follow up and confirm, we are turning our minds to the area again in terms of flood mitigation.
Yes, I can confirm that too, because in fact it's one of our projects NRC has put forward for the infrastructure fund. Kia ora. Kia
ora. Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Deputy Chair Shortland, and thank you, Councillor Carr, for your plan. A reminder to all of us here at Whanau District Council, but also to our colleagues in the council, that we can have discussions and queries amongst ourselves as local government at any time. And I look forward to seeing you all at our next Zone 1 and Northern Forward Together event, where we can also have these forms of communication. But thank you for the formal submission.
Sure.
Kia ora, ka kite.
Our next submission is online, and I can see Henry Murphy. There, Henry, just checking that you can hear us here in chambers, and if you wanted to unmute and test your microphone and camera, if you'd like to turn it on as well. Henry's submission can be found on page 57 of our booklets.
Okay.
Henry, do you want to just test out your mic?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Reception.
Can you hear me?
It actually might be easier if you turn off your camera to increase the band.
All right.
For you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
We're giving 10 minutes for verbal submitters, Henry.
10 minutes?
Happy to pass the time over to you now.
Good. I'd just like to thank you. I just acknowledge everyone here today, especially Worship Tipanea. I've joined on the health and safety, primarily Redcliffs Road. And I'm using the matrix formula that the council with. And so in terms of residencies, the total houses is made of roughly 13 within the 20 meters of the road. It says a third of the residents, or 13 whānau, basically eat dirt almost daily. Traffic and latest traffic account date, average daily traffic of 50 vehicles per 24 hours. That puts it up in the high teens. And that formula came about 40 dwellings by sort of vehicles per hour. In terms of sensitive receivers, there's one marae site there, current building that is utilized a community gathering place. By default, there's also a defence centre and a health centre. There are ecological areas, 5 with tributary that flow into the to Tier Inlet, and there are 5 sites of significance, 5 horticulture areas, and the cumulative receivers is very high. In terms of road and maintenance characteristics, Redcliffe's road is a road or coastal area, and also that'll be naturally high as well, as there's extremely high corrosion in the area. In terms of economic growth and tourism, this road is on a school bus. It is not a tourist route. What we have planned is for Kirikiri and Te Taitoka following weekend. We're holding a where they'll be discussed the ability or to have waka around our Redcliffe's Road. So in regards to that, it's the largest Māori settlement that is nearest to Kirikiri, and also Papakaina projects are in the pot. Sets a priority ranking of red in the various highest. Now the kicker for me, and it's about health and safety, is the safety and unsealed road surface of Redcliffe's Road and the coastal area during an extreme rain event, the safety of the 40+ farm, but also the elderly. My auntie, who's 93 years old tomorrow, who lives on that road, she still drives. Her eyes are giving her a bit of trouble, and she lives alone. But she is of a number of seniors or who reside on Redcliffe's Road. And in recommendation, comparing this to other top projects which receiving road surface seal, urgently seek immediate dust seal treatment to the Redcliffe's Road surface seal within the next 3 years. Necessary to lobby for extra funding, especially if the total score checks of Redcliffe on North District Council comprehensive criteria is 38, and seeks funding under the funding stream. Thank you for your time and consideration in this submission. Kia ora.
Kia ora, tēnā koe, Henry, thank you for your submission. Now, you did cut out at times, but I did get the overall just in my notes of your verbal submission. What I'll ask our staff to do is to, in case you can't hear us clearly, is to also offer for you to be able to send through your verbal submission in writing so that it can be tabled as we've done with other submitted verbal submissions. Just so that we don't miss out anything as an offer for Henry, because his reception is a little bit unclear on this side. But otherwise, I will offer to any questions if you can hear us all right there, Henry. Any questions? Councillor Vucic.
Thank you, Henry. Just a quick question. I hope you can hear me. I've been on Redcliffe Road and I can see the issues that are there relatively recently. But I understand that there are a lot of whānau coming back to that area. Is that correct? There seems to be some growth that's happening on it, and I didn't quite hear some of the figures that you were mentioning. That's my question.
Yeah, that's, yes, there's so there is a Papakainga plan in the pipeline being planned. You know, right now we got a couple of weeks to discuss, as well as the economic development for Haurua coming our sites out there. Yeah, realizing that in regards to you know, development.
Thank you.
No problem. Tēnā koe, Henry. Thank you very much for your verbal submission to Council long-term plan. I hope you have a great Friday and a good weekend.
Thank you, lad. Appreciate it.
Cool.
And I'll send this through. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tēnā koutou, e te whanau mai haere mai ki te wharekaunihira o Pension Sita. For members, the next written submission can be found on page 58 from the Lake Horma Trust. A huge welcome to you all. My haere mai. For our submissions today, we 10 minutes for you to speak to your written submission, which you can take as read. And then we are allowing 3 minutes for questions after that. I'm happy to pass the time over to you.
Kia ora tātou e tū mai, e tūtahi e whakahono i atua. Ino i tātou, i tēnei wā, e wā, e mauri mai, wairua tapu i waiminu i a tātou, i tēnei hui kia tātou. E oranga i leko māpare, mai e te wairua tapu, ia.
Kuia no te aroha o te ato ki te ao ho mai ana tama kotahi ka hahuri ngaro te tangata I whakapono ana ki ae. Engari ka whiwhi ai ki te ora tonu. Ko te mea tuatahi e whakapētai ki tō tātou matua nui te rangi. Mō nai pai ki atu. I mana ki tātou I tēnei rā. No reira e mihana ki a paura mō tātou ne kraki a whakapoere. Kia koutou ngā mātua ngā whaia. Ngā whanonga. I tai mai nei tēnei rā mo te koukou kei ngoi a tātou. I mihana kia koutou I hari o te ngākau mo te mea. Ko tai mai tātou te taha o te roto māpere ki te submit our part in the long-term plan. Kia koutou. No re re mihana. Kia koutou. Kia o tātou nei mate nā rāta ko huri hia tu ana ia marae ko haere ngā pati. Tēnei mea te mate kore tāi a te pēhea. Kore nei hoki o mai. Haere. No re re e poto tēnei mihi. Engari e tikana ki te mihi ka koutou. Ia ngā tātou nei. Haere te mihi ka koutou. No re re ka tinga mihi mo tēnei wā. Ko puta I te maunga, o te pua te peke he maunga taku, o te pua tahitanga o ngā rangatira, o ngā pui, o ngā pere te roto, he oranga, he pātapakai tēnā, o ngā tūpuna, ko tākou ere te tani pā, he kaitia ki o ngā puna wai, o wai ororo te awa, o te uri o hua te hapu, ko ngā uri te iwi. O re ia ki hono tātai hono rātou, ki hono wairo ki rātou, parao ki hono tātai hono, ko tātou te kari o ke tūtaki, te mārakatia, a kuea, a kuea.
Tōna koutou ngā mihi nui ki o tātou kāpua. He aha te mea nui o te ao, te tangata, he Māori. He Māori, he wairua. He Māori, he wairua o te roto, o te roto māpere. Engari, aroha mai if we've broken your protocols and centred our own tikanga to start this kōrero with a karakia. However, it is most critical if we actually going to do anything about this lake. And mihi to all in terms of councillors present in the room, those that are online, ngā mihi. Ngā mihi to Mayor Te Pania, Mayor Councillor Busit, kia ora. Ngā mihi, kia ora Kelly. The Lake Māpere Trust has a significant challenge on its hands, and I'm sure that you're all very well aware of. And although we've outlaid our strategic plan in that submission, we're going to talk to you about the how today. And without further ado, I'm going to actually ask our project manager, who is newly appointed, Tony Dalton, to talk about what that looks like. What does it look like? What does it smell like? What does that feel like? Because I think this lake has had so much talking over the past few years. It has been a haven for researchers. I'm a researcher myself, and I can say it has been researched literally to death because it is dying right now. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Tony to talk to you about what does restoration of this lake look like, and how can council work with us? What does partnership look like? How can you help to power this lake restoration up? Kia ora, hone.
I'll refer to the model that's up there. I think if you can see it and you know the corridor, and you can visualise it, then you can make it happen. And we're already on the road to starting. We have a strategic plan, and our three strategic imperatives are to improve the water quality, to restore te taiao, and then long-term sustainability. When we talk about each one of the incentives that we've got here, they're knitted into our strategic plan. One of the things that I would say is that if we had the money, if you had a workforce, then a lot of these jobs are not technical jobs and they could start tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff around the scientific aspects of it. I'm not going to cover that. I'm an operations person. So I just point out that if you were to put in a system, a water system or something, it's not the engineer that puts it in, it's the digger operator. So that's where I belong. Okay, so the first thing that we've been looking at within water quality is dredging. And everybody goes, dredging, you're going to kill everything. So we're looking at targeting dredging. We're looking at using hydrographic survey and 3D modeling to figure out where the sediment is. The issue is not just the sediment, the issue is the nutrients within the sediment. We could continue to sustain the two species, the introduced species here, the weed and the swans, which is the way that it's been going now, but it's just not working. So the real issue is the sediment. So we will dredge if we once this plan goes forward, and it'll be targeted dredging. It'll be about removing that amount of sediment that will change the course of the algal bloom. That's our first step. That's just the first step. The next thing that we would do, which relates to our long-term sustainability, would be that we would use that sediment as a way of generating monies to that. It's not just about funding, it's about resilience, it's about a long-term plan. Okay, so the nutrients within there that are harmful to the lake are not harmful talking about what they are in the air, but we can move that on to horticulture and all of that sort of stuff. So that provides us with an income as well. We would look at establishing pātuna, Pākewai, and re-establishing our taonga species within the lake and safeguarding them by part of the plan would be to set up nurseries or catchments where we can do that. There is a whole lot of other stuff that would be normal practices around this type of restoration, reforestation. Within that, we would knit into that our own mātauranga. A lot of the planning schedules that I've been working with around the area would say 1 by 1 metre. Native plants don't grow like that. We would use our own mātauranga to reforest with tupu or seed that comes from that area. So all we're doing is taking what has been taken away and putting it back into that area. We would look at nurseries. We would look at filtering using floating wetlands to grow kai, to filter the water, and then look at our targeted testing regime to look for indicators that actually what we're doing is working. Now, if that's 1%, that's 1% better than it is now. That's flowing green. It's been down there lately, but it is flowing green. That's after we've had a number of heavy rainfalls. So we would look at braiding the outlet like it was before. That would have long-term effects for hapu, being able to collect food from their specific outlet. And we would look at that using walkways and those sort of things for education. Sorry, I'm just trying to rush this through. When they talk to me about it, that'd be good. But, you know, to get access, I think access is one of the key things for people to get back down onto the water to understand what is going down, what is happening down there. Other than talking to the model, that's probably about it. It is deliberate. It is a deliberate planning process. It is not like a whole lot of ideas that are just coming out our backsides. It is a deliberate planning methodology that we're using. It is targeted. It is using science. It is using mātauranga. It is using all of those tools that are available to us.
And just to recap, Hone's given a great overview of the restoration exercise, and I just want to give some assurance. This trust has been in place since the 1950s. However, we are now at a time where we are powering up internally with our governance capability, our operational capability, as you've just seen now. And I hope that really does give you some confidence. And we currently have an application through the fast track process and have regional council and support from FNDC and the Tai Tokerau Water Trust as part of that. So hopefully that provides greater confidence to what we're trying to achieve here. I guess the last thing I'd like to leave is that we're completely encouraged by this council and the leadership that it is taking, and we have huge confidence that the experience that sits at the table and the innovation and thinking that is here is going to actually put Tai Tokerau on the map. That lake is a taonga and it should be celebrated as a taonga. There are greater opportunities here for tourism, wetland parks. I've put that in that submission about a partnership with council. Is an amazing, it could be a great walk, something like that. But we want council at the table, skin in the game and helping to move this taonga forward. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much to you all.
Thank you. Do you think the restoration of the lake will improve water quality in other streams and rivers, in particular ones that flow out into the sea?
Definitely. I think the lake is another bit to that. I think the lake is always playing for all the pari that flows down into the Hokianga. It's a big contributor. But I think what we need to look at is not just the lake, but the whole ecosystem all the way down into the Hokianga. And I think there's a po there. If we start there, then it should flow down.
Lift everything. If I could just add on to the back of that, we have got a submission with regional council as well, so hopefully they echoed some things around there as the Lake Marmite catchment and looking for support from regional council for that. There's a number of tributaries to that outlet from the lake, and we know from testing that there's a difference in the cyanotoxins, cyanobacteria when it's measured at our lake point. It's different. It's a lot higher actually than what's down the bottom of the valley, which says that there's a number of tributaries that are actually having a dilutional effect, if any, on the water quality. So there are amazing opportunities here, but also that dredging exercise that we've talked about. It's a great opportunity to take something that's usually pioneered in economic development and actually use it to clean up our taonga. You know, these are valuable to us, our taonga is valuable to us, and there's so much life that comes from it. So what happens when we clean it up? I know there are kaumātua that are down the valley that would like to dredge down there. So there's some great learnings there, and there's also greater development opportunities for the region.
I think the real value in that is to, sorry, the real value is to take it from that level down to the people level, and to, you know, for them to be able to understand that we can actually do things. These things can be done by our kids, by our workforce here. Now, it's doable.
Thank you. A quick question from Councillor McNally, then final question from Councillor.
My question was really, you've been very specific in your request for council support in the long-term plan. Can you just explain how we could help, particularly under recognised Lake Marmite Trust as a tangata whenua under the RMA? Is that as a requirement in our district plan? That's the first part. And the second was renewal of the engineering standards to improve. Is there something specific about the engineering standards that you're quite specific, so you probably know exactly what you want. Can you explain?
I guess, so I've been speaking to the planning team actually in council and had some feedback around that our engineering standards are actually out of date in comparison to the rest of the country. And at the moment, we're fortunate to have some insights to data that where people are being consulted, but the Lake Marmite Trust is not being advised on developments and whatnot in the area. That's actually a requirement under the RMA. So we would like that, given the greater impacts of stormwater on the catchment and the downstream effects that we've just talked about down the rest of the waterway. So that answers your question, I think, specifically to the engineering piece. To the other piece, it's about, I probably have answered that actually. In terms of the Lake Marmite Trust as the governing entity for the lake, it's tricky being responsible for everyone else's pollution, but there's a statutory obligation there that says we don't want to have a fight. We want council at our table. We want to be working together to help you meet your statutory obligations. So there's an opportunity there for us to sit together and work on that together.
Would this become the Lake Marmite Centre? The model?
It's a representation, but yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And final quick question, sorry, from Councillor Court, and I'll ask you to email your question through.
Just around the money things, I'm just a little bit unclear. So you've also made a submission to Northland Regional Council. So you talk about $200,000 per annum is $1 per person. And then you're asking us for $200,000. And I'm not really clear on whether you're also asking NRC for $200,000 or could you just explain the money for me? And to that, you're asking for $100,000 for 5 years for capital, which is $500,000, and then you're asking for $100,000 per annum for the partnership. Is that in perpetuity? Just some clarity around what you're actually asking for.
Yeah, and I think the key piece is actually skin in the game. So council has an investment there. It's not actually about the money. It's having expertise and capability. And this is actually really well illustrated in private enterprise. When you have people who know what they're doing, they know how to navigate the legislation, regulation, and they also have a financial interest in making sure that their money goes in the right place, then that is going to be a successful outcome. That's really what this is about. Probably just to give some context to those specific numbers, it's a huge exercise to supply water from the lake I'm aware of all the work that's been done on the different dams. But just to give some contrast to that, if he doesn't mind, Hapori has been delivering water in rural Māori areas where water tanks are completely out, and being able to store water is completely beyond the means of the people that live in this community. So something in the lines of $17,000 for a completely installed system, just so that you can live in dignity, is actually quite a useful number when we're thinking about we're asking for $100,000 just to get a water supply solution started. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be allocated to putting pipes in or an engineer's report or anything like that. And often consultants can soak up a lot of that money. It's about having skin in the game. And I think I also underlined those statements with the point that I'd rather work, Ange is one of the financial people here in council, to actually see, well, actually how can we make money do something for the lake? That's really what this is about. The other piece for the Indigenous Biodiversity Park, similar scenario there. Some people will spend millions depending who they've got involved on projects and who's delivering it. I think there was about nearly $1 million spent on feasibility reports for the Ngāwha Innovation Park. We've literally had to scramble just to get a project manager to drive our lake forward. That money hasn't come from any council. And so these numbers, yeah, I'm just
trying to understand the money.
Yeah, so
you're looking for skin in the game.
Yeah.
You're looking for $100,000 per annum in perpetuity and $100,000 over 5 years for capital projects.
Yes, but and I have had a great conversation with Councillor Busich recently, who's the chair of the Joint Economic Program, and I'm aware there's other capability around. So when we have people who know how to do things, you don't go and spend $30,000 on a report because you already have somebody accountable to write that thing. So it's about saying we would like skin in the game, as you're saying, and how do we make this happen? And where is that money best placed? Because we shouldn't pay for FTEs if council already has those FTEs. But I appreciate that question, because then we can have a really robust conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. E mihi nui ana ki a koutou I tā pai mai. I know that the formal settings of how we actually submissions and hearings do not conform with tikanga, and I appreciate the fact that it makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But at the same time, I want to ensure that we are treating every single submitter fairly and the same with the same time. And with that, what I'm getting from our catch up today is that I would very much like to see another informal meeting where we can continue to progress this into the fact of having skin in the game. I think something like a joint working group with regional council, where actually people are around the table and maybe the administration is put on the council's books. I'm going to say NRCs. But where we can have technical advice and all of that sort of stuff would be quite appropriate as a starting point. But we'll leave it at that. Mihi nui ana ki a koutou I ki pai mai ki kone ki te kaunihiro te iko te ike I tēnei rangi tonu nei. Mā koe whai haere ki a hui anō ai tātou e nui mai. Tēnā koutou.
Kia ora, tātou e whakatika te urahi ki a rātou I tēnei wā. I just want to close our time in prayer. So gracious and eternal Father, we thank you for this time. And Lord, I pray for a blessing on this house. Father, as the leaders come together and make decisions, Lord, we ask that you give them wisdom and understanding. And Lord, wairua to watahi with the people. So we thank you for this place. As we depart, we just ask that the blessing sits at this table. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you very much for yours.
We're asking the regional council. So
yeah, maybe for
I can follow up
after lunch. Is that all right?
Thank you.
Lady.
Thank you.
After lunch.
Thank you, members. Our final verbal submission for today is from Jan Baker. Kia ora, Jan.
Thank you
It
for
can be
your
found on page 67 of the submissions there. Sorry, Janice Baker.
Yeah.
Janice, you've come over from Whangabu for your submission today. Thank you very much for making the journey over.
It's okay.
If you're comfortable giving your group submission from where you are, that's fine, or you can take a seat up there or the next step. That's fine. You've heard this spiel multiple times already today.
Well, it's good because mine's only a very small issue, but it's important to the community.
Absolutely. I'm happy to pass the time over to you now.
So I'm going to bypass the stormwater angles, only to say that the water is very muddy at night here. I mean, it's not exceptional. We put a whole filter system on our house. And even after 3 months and taking that filter system out and taking it through to get another one, he says, don't tell me you live in Pai here. You know, that's his words, because it's not good quality. Anyway, so my most important thing is to go to issue 3, which I'd like to presume that to option 3, which is the status quo, to keep all the libraries that are in existence at the moment, including Williams House Library in Paihia, which is the centre of Paihia. It's in the middle of town. It's historical, and it's looked after by the Friends of Williams House. And there's a committee, and we maintain the grounds. It also, with the library there, we have 92 cruises in a year, mainly in high season, as you know. That's a lot. And they all sit out there and sort, and Fiona puts the chairs out for them to do Wi-Fi. Russell residents come through on ferries, even on Saturday morning, to use the library and the facilities. And there's a lot of people that struggle and don't have computers, and that's where they go for job vacancies or anything of that such. There's locals that regularly come in every morning, because I'm there gardening a lot of the time, to regularly catch up with people. So it's a focus of our town and an important one. And that's all I came to focus on, really. End of story.
Thank you very much. It's great to have that first-hand feedback around how one of our community facilities is being used. So, without a deputy restricted for a question.
Order, Mrs. Baker. How would you feel if the libraries of Kirikiri and Kawakawa were to close?
Their libraries are equally important, and quite often I go there for extra books. So Paihia residents regularly go to Kirikiri as well as Paihia. You know, it's not just a simple factor of picking one. I don't think that's what this community needs, a sacrifice like that.
And does it make you feel a bit emotional, the thought of losing a library?
Well, most things of the Paihia is well, as I say, it's an historical house that's there and established in form. So yes, it would be gut wrenching to have that go. But it also, you know, imagine losing yours here. I mean, it's not in the centre of town, but it's pretty close, and I bet that's used a lot as well. So I don't think there should be any sacrifices here. I think they should status quo should continue.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your submission, Mrs. Baker. Now, what I can assure you is that this question in our long-term plan consultation document is just to garner feedback. From that feedback, next steps will be done, but nothing, the status quo will not change without further consultation with our community. is what that looks like.
That's
So
good,
we
'cause-
can feel rest assured that we won't be judge and jury in our
Right.
long-term plan deliberations based off of all of this feedback.
Friends of Williams House would be disappointed and that would be a battleground.
Thank you very much. You have a great weekend. Thank you, everybody. I will close our hearings today. Unuhia ki tapunui a tāne kia wāte kia māma te hininga ro ngā koutina na te wairua I te ara takatū I runga hawhiria ke hironga kia wāte ai, kua wātea.